everybody. Hello, welcome back to the book club with me, Arbeiterian.
And me, Mira.
Look, we've remembered this. We haven't recorded for months and we did that quite well.
It's been so long. Also, today I'm wearing
a Magic Space Frog t-shirt that you can buy from the Arbeiterian merch store, which is a thing that exists. It might have been a mistake. There's a lot of stuff it involves, but it does exist now, and you can buy one of these brilliant Magic Space Frog tees made by KCP Fargo, who does the logo for this book club channel.
Yay! It's an amazing t-shirt. Magic Frogs.
That's the first in our list of things that are going to be really annoying if you're listening to this as a podcast.
Oh, sorry.
Welcome to the book club. We read Warhammer books and then we talk about them. And you then interview the authors on your channel and I talk about lore on my channel. So all of our stuff's in the thing. You can see it and go to it. We're on like book 4 billion of the Heresy, so you're probably fine by now. Also, we should say that we're drinking tea, and very appropriately for this, we are going to be drinking Yogi Tea's Soul Balm, which is needed by a lot of the characters in this book, which we haven't actually said what it is yet.
No, let's do the thing. Today we are reading The Outcast Dead
by Graham McNeill. It's Graham McNeill's 403rd book for the Horus Heresy series.
My thing says, how can
this is chocolate orange, right?
Yeah. Mine says, how can you uplift this moment happening right now? Just talking about Warhammer.
Uplifting, yeah. So this chocolate orange tea is definitely what you need to balm your soul. Every experience is a guidance in life. Your response determines the quality.
We'll see.
That's completely true, but okay, Yogi Tea. Good, right. So why don't we start with the traditional way we start these things? Mira's action movie, questionable, but it certainly is for a little bit in the third act. Plot summary of this book. Go, Mira.
Okay.
I'll drink tea.
In a world where the warp leaks into every vulnerable crack, it's not easy being a psyker. Funnily enough, the Imperium doesn't really understand how to treat PTSD and trauma, and woe betide ever being implanted with important plot spoilers by a once trusted primary school teacher. Join us on an interplanetary, that's not correct, join us on an adventure and a prison break with the worst D&D party of all time, made solely of barbarians and berserkers, as we read The Outcast Dead.
Yeah. One interesting thing about this book I found was that it was really hard to think of people to put on the bastard scale, because everyone has an excuse. It's basically, this is a book of an awful lot of damaged people in the same place together. That's what happened. Oh yeah, I've thought of something. Anyway.
And I was going to early vote for Big Stone Angel Bastard.
Oh yeah, Big Stone Angel Bastard. Yeah. So this is a bit of a weird book. The Outcast Dead introduced a lot of things that hadn't been in Heresy and sort of wrapped them all up, and also had, as you know, had a load of threads. Some of the things introduced, I think maybe didn't need to be. Other ones are like, it was really nice to hear about that. We'd always heard about that and it never really seen it, which is quite nice. There was a big controversy when it came out, in that the timing of it, I can't even remember what it is, because I think the EPUB that I reread for this has corrected it, and later editions of the book correct it. And you have a silver edition, so I don't know if that counts.
It's 2011, second reprint, I think.
Reprint. So there was a problem at the start that it had a little bit of a time problem in that it sort of happened at the wrong place in the timeline.
I've got it. Yeah, because there's stuff going on that we're aware of.
Yeah, it mentions a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
But it sort of, it didn't I can't remember what the original issue was, but it was fixed, and I'm pretty sure I read the one that was fixed. So it sort of makes sense now.
They will let us know in the comments as well, 100%. But I was quite interested, and it was a completely different part, again, of the universe that we were exploring. And really interesting having a psyker as the main character.
Yeah, a couple of psychers as main characters.
Love
actually.
it.
Yeah, 3 psychers as main characters.
How many psychers?
And like a random samurai. So here we go. This is what happens in The Outcast Dead. So we join our main character, Kai Zulain, who is Kai's a broken, sad, sarcastic astropath. He unlike most people in 40k, he sort of seems like one of those people who has absolutely nothing to lose and therefore has given up trying to be respectful to anyone. So all this like fear of Space Marines doesn't exist. Yeah, he's just like, screw you, I don't care. Basically, Yeah.
Kai, you will know Kai. This is the most sarcastic, witty dialogue we've ever had. Graham McNeill is really great at writing very acerbic. I can imagine getting in an argument with Graham McNeill. I would wither and die.
Yes.
Because Kai is like very, very, great dialogue, very snappy, very sarcastic.
Yeah. He has witnessed some horrific thing in the warp. Like an Ultramarine ship was lost. The only two survivors were him and the navigator, and they sort of got the blame. And some things happened where his mind shut down and he can't open it up again, so he can't do his job as an astropath.
Yeah, he's gone from, I'm a powerful astropath to, I can only talk to people next to me.
Yeah, and he won't open his mind anymore, and he won't use any of his powers because it'll immediately put him in mind of the thing that happened on the ship. The problem is he's basically an indentured servant to this navigator house who gave him some fancy mechanical eyes. So he's an astropath. Usually they're blind with mechanical eyes.
Oh my God, the eye drama.
There's so many eyes in this. Oh God, this book has so much eye stuff going on. Anyway, and he's been sent back to Terra, where he's picked up by a representative of House Castagna and taken to... Which
is the Navigator House.
Is the Navigator House, yeah. And taken to the City of Sight in the Palace, which is like an ancient place, predates the Palace, and it's where all the astropaths are trained.
Hogwarts for astropaths.
Astro Hogwarts. Yeah.
Astro Hogwarts, but with loads of torturous areas.
Yeah, he meets Belan Ortega from House Castagna. He hates Belan Ortega. He's just a twat to him, and he drinks all the brandy in the car. He's in like a fancy limo with brandy in it.
Yeah, this is where he's quite a cool character. He's like, you're going to take me off to prison. I might as well take the bottle with me.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh.
Yeah, it's like that. It's I'm gonna get killed, and he's obsessed with this idea that he's useless. So what that means is they're going to take him back, and they're going to do what they do to useless astropaths, which is they get sent to the Hollow Mountain.
Oh my God, this is awful.
To power the Astronomicon, where they last a few months. So if you're not very good as an astropath, or for some reason you can't do a good astropathing, you get sent to the Hollow Mountain.
It's like the end of Mechanicus, where they had a whole pyramid of people that just channel the signal through, and they all go...
Well, I guess the Astronomicon is a sort of reverse thing from Mechanicus, a Shakic reader. Like the Astronomicon's beaming this signal out, and the Astropaths is trying to suck in all the information.
Charming invention.
So he's worried that he's like, fuck this, I'm drinking as much as I want, all that's going to happen, I'm not opening my mind because it's too scary, don't want to do that, I'm going to go back to the City of Sight.
Put me in mind of Graham McNeill. Graham McNeill, when he writes about drinking, makes you want to drink, which is very dangerous for people like me who do not. I only drink tea now. Yeah,
there's a little bit of confusion here, because it's also confusing if the heresies... We later hear about the heresy breaking out, which makes this make no sense, but this is an example of the sarcasm. The glorious arias of Kinska's The Score of Heroes tells of each day the Emperor spent with his sons. I bet he wishes he'd spent longer, said Kai idly.
I love that line. And I had a question. Is there a Score of Heroes? Is that a real thing?
I don't know what that is. Yeah, no. But Becca Kinska obviously just died doing the sex orgy concert. Yeah.
As you do.
Another get better.
What are you up to? Sex orgy concert tonight?
Sex orgy concert, yeah. We then go across the palace to a different bit of the palace, and we meet Yasu Nagasenna, who is some sort of hunter. He's in command of an army of 3,000, and they've gone to arrest some guys called the Crusader Host. And what this is it turns out, didn't know this, but it turns out all the legions have sent representatives back to Terra to be like the voice of the legion on Terra, and they're called the Crusader Host. And what's happened is with Horus turning, which evidently they know that has happened, with Horus turning, Nagasenna, who is like some sort of agent... He's like, seems to work for the Imperium, but he's not really got a rank.
Yeah.
He's been sent to arrest all the traitor ones. Because the traitor ones are like, well, you're from a traitor legion.
Yeah, it's so like if war broke out, if we started fighting with Essex, anyone in London who was from Essex, we would have to imprison. Yeah,
which I think, it's true, and I think that would probably be a good thing. Let's hope for that. Anyway, he chats to the sort of who's going to become the leader of the Crusader Host, who is Atharva, who is 1,000 son.
Another psyker.
Another psyker. So he's like, okay, well, this is sad, isn't it? And Nagasenna's like, yeah, this is sad. We don't want to do it either. Nagasenna's very calm. He's like this. He's very, very, like, it feels weird because he's almost from like history or from today. Basically, he's a Japanese guy. Well, we don't actually know that. We know he's Japanese in style.
Yeah.
And his philosophy seems to be, they make references that suggest it might be Confucian.
I can't wait to speak to Graham McNeill and hopefully he can reveal,
So
but yes, very Zen character for 30k.
And very like modern day for 30k.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of that, yes.
Truth, and also all of Nagasenna's bits are done in present tense.
Yes.
Truth and order are Nagasenna's watchwords, for they provide a centre from which all other things can flow. He's learned this from the teachings of a wise man born in these parts in an age now forgotten. And this is in the palace, so it's Himalayas.
Yeah.
So,
some beautiful writing again in this book.
We also go to the city of Sight, which is the home of the Astropaths, and we meet sexy granddad Nemo Zang.
Sexy granddad jingle.
So there's some great lines about
Who
Nemo
else is a sexy granddad? Lorgar's
Lorgar's, I don't think he's a sexy granddad.
No, the one who's his dad,
Corferon.
Corferon.
He's just a granddad.
Sexy, not sexy.
I don't think so.
And join us for Sexy Granddad Scale.
So we meet Nemo Zang and Sarashina, who are like the heads. Nemo Zang's head astropath, and Sarashina's another senior astropath. And they're trying to find out where the hell the Iron Hands have gone. They've heard that Dawn sent the people to Isfahan because they know about Horus.
Yes.
But and they've all been sent there, but the Iron Hands, they've heard things, they don't know what he's doing, and he's not, the warp's turbulent, so they don't know what
Plot twist. Flipping out, I didn't know this. The reason potentially Ferris died is he wouldn't wait.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going there now.
Exactly. There was,
He sped off, without the requisite backup. And if he'd only waited, perhaps he wouldn't have been beheaded.
Yeah, the Iron Hands were a really powerful legion. But because they're also kind of slow and ponderous because they're so big, he sort of just left with his elite and went to Isfahan and then dropped with his elite thinking, fuck this, I'm going to go in. And they get the message from Ferris saying that he's not waiting.
No.
He's deploying right now before anyone arrives. And Dawn is like, what the hell?
Yeah, Rogel Dawn is very much Big Brother, like, no.
Then Nemo and Sarashina have a chat while they're drinking tea naked.
This was so...
And there's a whole thing here. There's a few mentions where they're like, people are talking about Nemo and they're like, you know how Nemo works. How does he work?
Naked.
Tantric astropathy is mentioned.
You won't get away with that now.
They think Horus is going to be crushed. This is stupid. They worry a bit about the Night Lords because the Night Lords are very dodgy. And they're like, we worry about sending the Night Lords. Only there were Night Lords stationed in the solar system, and they were sent off to Isfahan. There's also silence from Prospero, and they don't know why. So they're all like, "Oh God,
why.
What's happening?" Yeah. Kai then turns up. He spent 10 years here in training. The City of Sight is older than the palace. They also meet in the whole, we're all at the City of Sight now. They meet a guy called Evander Gregorus, who is a cryptosthegian. And what he does, right?
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, I know, right? So astropaths, this has been established in other books. Astropaths receive their messages in like dream states, which they write down in a thing called an onera critica, which is like a dream diary. And they build their dream diaries to make sure they're still sane. And all this spare psychic energy is then bleeding around the City of Sight. And in the basement is Evander and his people, the cryptosthesians. And what they do is they from the backwash of psychic energy, they try and sift it for spare meaning.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he, in my head, he's Charlie Day with a big board with red string all over it.
Yep.
And he thinks that Kai and the girl he mentions should be shot because they're a danger to everyone. Like they happen to them, just kill them.
How prescient is Evander?
Yeah, and Kai then gets a cell. To sift through the vast quantity of psychic debris that was left in its wake was the task of the cryptosthesians, a task few relished, but which Evander Gregorus had made his life's work. Through the decades, it became clear that there was a secret to the Imperium that was known only to a fragmented diaspora of madmen who were wholly ignorant of each other's existence, yet who hurled their desperate messages into the void in the impossible hope that their warning would be heeded. He's convinced that there's some message he can't quite get yet that's really important, but he doesn't know what it is.
Can I just check, are we on Terra in this book?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, yes. In the palace, almost entirely.
I'm having to check that we are because we've read so many bloody books recently. But I was so excited to be on Terra. And, and thank God we were, because people pop up who could only have been on Terra. But I really loved it because all this time we've been in the universe, what's going on? What's going on in here is a lot of people thinking, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine. Yeah, this is worrying, But
we'll be
Horus turning, that's madness.
And they don't know the immensity. They don't know how many people have turned as well. So it's all...
Yeah, well, it comes clear at some point in this book.
Yeah.
Right, so Kai's taken to me Athena Divas, right? And Athena Divas is like astrotherapist.
Yeah, I will fix you.
And she's very, very injured. She got injured in a horrible attack, and this is her job now.
And she also says, don't kill him, I will save him.
Yeah,
that kind of vibe.
And she's sort of strict, but and Kai doesn't like it to start with, and they all become friends eventually.
Wasn't Athena his tutor or something when he was little?
Maybe, I don't know.
I feel like that might be a thing. If I've made it up, apologies.
So they go into his mindscape, which is represented by a desert from ancient history, the Rub al-Khali. And there's like a...
Why do you think they chose that?
I don't know. You can ask Graham.
I'll ask Graham.
He's in the Rub al-Khali, and there's this big fortress in it made of sand. And then outside the fortress, the fortress is empty. There's nothing there. And outside the fortress are evil snakes, like the snakes in Beetlejuice, that represent...
I thought they were snakes like in...
like June. Yeah. I was thinking more Beetlejuice, but it could be June snakes,
One of each. Sorry,
podcast people. So they try this thing. So astropaths are trained to control their dreams, but he can't anymore. So whenever he goes into this dream state, there's these snakes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to open his mind because of all the monsters he saw. But then on the other hand, if Athena fails, Kai's going to be sent to the Hollow Mountain to join the Astronomicon.
Yeah.
So that's that.
She's trying to snap him out of his sarcasm and say, I'm trying to literally save your life.
This is the moment. I was living with a lifetime's worth of pain every day until Mistress Sarashina and Master Zemang taught me tantric rituals to make it bearable. Tantric, says Kai. Well, you know how Zemang works, eh? Says Athena, neutrally.
Kai considered that and said, maybe they could teach me.
Yeah. Kai eventually, when working on this, has a vision of the past. Right?
We've ruined this. You spoiled it. Read what you've written.
What?
Kai has a vision of the past.
And there's a person there who totally isn't the Emperor. We know it totally isn't the... You know it's the Emperor.
I did until the end.
Until the end, really?
No, because I was like, does the Emperor have amber eyes? I'm sure they were like...
Okay, well, it's totally not the Emperor. Sorry, everyone who apparently hasn't read this book, but is watching this.
It is the Emperor. Okay, so...
Yeah, the man laughed, and this is a really big, long quote.
Read it in a nice voice, because it's the Emperor.
The man laughed, and the sound was so infectious it made Kai smile, despite the growing ache in his shoulder. Yet it felt somehow insincere, as though this man had not laughed in a very long time and had forgotten how it was supposed to sound. You, Kai Zulain? No, you're not just destined to be remembered by the saga tellers of the ages yet to come, said the man. And Kai felt him look upon the glaring red eye of the sun. It is of another I speak, one who has the ability to undo all that I've achieved and cut my thread, but whose face is hidden from me. So why are you talking to me, asked Kai. If you are who I think you are, then there must be a million things more important than me for you to deal with. Very true, agreed the man. But I'm here talking to you because you will bear witness to my ending. I sense you are being pulled along by the unseen thread that leads to my death. And if you can see it, then I can know it. And you can stop it, asked Kai? That remains to be seen. Oh. So the Emperor's now speaking to Kai because he's like, I think Kai has seen something which is locked in his brain. And I think it's to do with me dying and how all this pans out.
Yeah.
And that's that.
I feel a bit sad because at the end that they talk again.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Well, I've got that quote too.
Why is the sun red? Is that emblemic?
I think that's Horus's eye, the eye of Horus. Yeah. But yeah, so...
Well, we're on Terra, and flipping heck, I hate me. We're on the Terra talking to the Emperor. This is all I've ever wanted to do.
There's a lot of Emperor in this.
This is such a fantastic Emperor book.
The Emperor playing a lot of chess in people's brains becomes like a thing. It's a really big thing in the Siege of Terra. He does a lot of sitting in metaphorical space mind caves.
I can't wait till the Siege of Terra.
So we also go to our next location, which is the Petitioner's City, which is a really interesting concept. Never really gone through before.
Can I say what I think it is?
What do you think it is?
So basically the palace is all set up, but as turmoil and things start worrying everybody, everyone starts coming to the palace to be under the protection of the Emperor, but they just don't have capacity to let everyone in. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of human supplicants. So there's this massive like shanty city, shacks and, kind of temporary housing. And it's like a city of its own.
Yeah.
And they all want to come and basically be heard by the emperor, really.
And even before, it's not there because of, it's been had even more people in it because of the Horus stuff, but it was there for years because he's been building this palace for years.
Yes.
And so it's just full of people petitioning to get in, petitioning for work, petitioning for things. And we saw similar things in Blood Games when he was sneaking through like the worker habitats and things. Yeah, it's that sort of place. So
let's face it, I'd have been in petitioning.
Yeah, petitioning to get in. Well, what we meet is Roxanne, who, as far as we know, is a rich woman who has run away, and she helps at a place called the Temple of Woe, which is this weird place. It's not really a church, but it's sort of become a church, and it's full of discarded statues that weren't good enough for the palace. She's obviously a navigator because she's waylaid by some thugs who work for a king thug called Babu Dakal. And she warp eyes the thugs because she's got a navigator head.
She's like, you shouldn't come near me. And then like, why? We're going to get you. And she's like, I wasn't worrying about me. I was worrying about you. Yeah, amazing.
Imperial heralds escorted by hundreds of armed men occasionally ventured as far as the Proclamation Arch to read the names of those whose luck had finally turned and would be allowed to enter the palace. So yeah, dangerous place. She gets back and she meets her mate, Pallas Noandio.
Yes.
He runs the Church of Woe.
Main, like, kind of, youth pastor, bringing everyone in. Like, but it's very naughty of them. They shouldn't be in a temple. They shouldn't call it a temple. Yeah. It's a bit churchy for the Imperium. I
think the way they describe it is that people keep dying in the Petitioner city and there's nothing to do with them. Like, and people want to, like, what do we do with the body? Yeah. And so the Temple of Woe has a furnace.
Yes.
And so it became this place, which is like a building with a furnace in it and tons of old statues of glorious angels and things because it was from the palace. And people sort of treat it like a church. They'll bring their dead there and they'll say a goodbye and there'll be like a little thought. And so he's sort of become a priest without really there being a religion. Yeah. And it's
enforced youth pastor.
Yeah.
But that being able to burn bodies becomes quite a big plot point.
Yeah, it does. They meet a woman called Maya and her kids. Maya's husband's been killed by Babu Dakal's men. The kid is called Arik, which is important. Arik was one of the Emperor's lightning bearers in the first epoch of unity. They say he was taller than the Hollow Mountain and he carved the pass at Mohan with his fists. And you might grow as big, Arik. So Arik's a popular name because an old hero of the Emperor uniting the planet was called Arik.
When they say lightning bearers, we're assuming it's a thunder
warriors, or the early armies of the Emperor.
Yeah, I think if it's a thunder warrior, literally speaking, that would be epic. Wow. Bearing in mind.
Then
let's have a civil
Then who comes past? But it's Gota, who is Babu Dakal's enforcer. And he comes for Roxanne. Gota is like not having a good day. He's pale, he's massive, he has a weird voice that doesn't sound right. He's pale, he's bleeding from all sorts of weird wounds and tumours. And something happens where he gets all scary, and then the statue of the vacant angel, which is in the middle of the temple, does something weird.
It's a big statue. I think I'm imagining it carved from onyx or something, a black stone with no face.
Yeah, yes.
But there is something weird that the statue kind of almost has a protective glow going on.
Yeah, Pallas thinks he sees a red skull in it, and Gota runs away. Because something weird's happened. So we leave the Petitioner city.
Yes.
Actually, it jumps around more than this. I've been clumping it together into useful blocks.
Thank you.
Because it's really jumpy. The Astropaths receive the message that Ferris is now dead and everyone else has turned traitor. So the 9 legions are against you now and Ferris is dead. So everyone's like, that's bad.
It's a bad day for news.
Yeah, I mentioned that the Crusader host has now been locked up.
Yeah.
Kai and Athena go down to see Evander. He's got a big red string conspiracy board, but he's writing it on the walls in chalk. He keeps talking about seeing a big red eye in the backwash.
Yeah. Which would make sense that he would think it was Magnus.
Yeah, he thinks this is Magnus the Red. Yeah, because they haven't heard of them. And they talk about the cognosynths, which were these like horrible psychers that the Emperor had to defeat in the Age of Strife, like super mega psychers. And he's worried that it's a cognosynth coming back.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so that's lore then.
I mean, it's literally, I don't know if it's ever been mentioned in any other place, but obviously in the Age of Strife, there was shitloads of weird psychic crazy armies that the Emperor had to defeat. So yeah, he's worried that it's a cognosynth.
Yeah. Then something incredibly exciting happens.
Ooh.
We've read about this from the outside. We've been in the body of Magnus when it happened, but we see on Terra the impact
Of Magnus doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, in Psycho Hogwarts, when Magnus does nothing wrong, the impact.
Yeah.
And it starts really small. All the Psychos are like, "Wah!" and like blow out and lose their minds. But not only that, you see the rippling effects across humankind in absolutely devastating, like, you know, it's a situation emergency state. And I just felt so privileged that we got to read about what it was like when it happened.
Blowing up and people going mad and all that sort of stuff.
But this is one of the things in the Heresy you get. This was in codexes and lore, and you get to actually be in the place when it happened.
Well, yeah, well, you don't. You always see it from the point of view of Magnus or the Emperor's throne room, but you're like, oh, actually, on the whole planet, this massive psychic event happened. Sarashina tries to control it. Goes into the main focusing area.
Rookie error.
She screamed as she saw the red chamber in all its infinite horror. The red chamber's mentioned a few times. It's never actually says what it is, but it seems like the only time a red chamber's been mentioned so far, I think, is in the word bearer's ship when they're blocking all the communications back to Terra.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the same red chamber or if it's a metaphor. I'm not sure. Anyway, Kai, Evander, and Maxim Golovko, who is the Black Sentinel leader. He's like the leader of the military of the City of Sight, whose job is to kill any Astropaths that go a bit mad. They break into the Mind Hall. Sarashina quickly pours all the info that she's just got into Kai's mind before she dies. And it's a warning for one man, the Gold-Eyed Man.
Oh, did she say Gold-Eyed Man?
Yeah.
Then it is the Emperor.
It's the Emperor,
okay.
Right. It's a warning for one guy, the Gold-Eyed Man. Because the Gold-Eyed Man is obviously the Emperor.
Okay, yeah.
When he wakes up, he's being carted off to prison by the custodians, so we're going to drill the information out of his head.
Oh, it's so stupid. It's stupid of Sarashine to touch this sphere thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was hubris and she thought she could contain it. But then for her to take whatever was in it and pass it on, you know, whoever is touched by the warp, that's it.
Yeah. So Kai's the only Astropath that isn't being nommed by the Magnus nearby.
Yes.
So he gets it in and he wakes up and he's like, right, you're taken off to prison. We're going to drill your head open to find out what's it. Because the custodians are like, well, it might be important for saving the Emperor. So therefore we're going to kill you.
And the only way we can find out what's in your brain is by
drilling your head
open while you're awake.
Yes.
Because we are Warhammer people.
So, yeah, that's exactly how that works. So Kangba Mawu is this ancient underground prison. Again, predates the palace. And he meets two adepts called Kiriko and Sharf, who are terrifying. And they're going to drill his brain out. And I've written here, many bad things happen. It's the start of an awful lot of descriptions of Kai vomiting and shitting. I mean, which is a lot of this book.
Do you remember Neverwhere? I mean, we don't talk about the creator, but there was a really horrible pair in that.
Yeah.
They just, no compunction about torture, and these two are horrible. And it's very, very in-depth description of what would happen if they're trying to yoink something out of your brain.
Yeah, exactly that. It's horrific. Bad things happen. There's an awful lot of bodily fluids involved, which continue to be involved from this point onwards, really. So also in the prison.
What a smorgasbord.
We're about halfway through the book at this point. Also in the prison are the Crusader host. We have Athava of the Thousand Suns, Tagore and his underlings, Suba and Asuba, who are twins and they're world eaters. We have Githua, the Death Guard.
Yep.
And Argentus Chiron, the Emperor's children.
Yep.
And Severian, who's a sort of sneaky son of Horus. And they decide they're going to stage a breakout because Athava's been getting all the backwash of what Kai's happened to Kai, and he reckons Kai's important.
Yes.
So they do a breakout.
Very cleverly, Athava finds a way to find a disgruntled employee, gets into his brain, tricks him into opening the door. Very handy if you're in prison psycho.
Space wizard.
Space wizard.
So Tagore then kills one of the custodians who's meant to be keeping track on him. He's like an injured custodian who's his backup job is minding the prison. And then they use his magically reanimated head to open all the doors.
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh, this was horrible.
It's a bit Eisenhorn. So they use his magically reanimated head to do all the voice door stuff to get out. So they run down a load of tunnels. They have to kill a load of people. They bypass the sensors. They escape to a flyer They get in the flyer. Tagore wants to keep going and try for orbit. And they have like an argument about what the hell they should do about their traitor dads.
Yeah.
And the World Eaters have an interesting thing, which is like, they're like, my job is to be loyal. My job is to get to my Primarch and fight by their side. And then Atharva's like, well, what if it turns out that the rumours are true and he is a traitor?
Yeah.
And then Tagore's like, then I'll chop his fucking head off.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like
very interesting dynamics.
So they argue about what to do, but basically, eventually, Atharva is like, they get like shot at,
Yeah.
and they land, and Atharva's like, right, we're going to go and hide in the Petitioner's city.
Yeah.
So they've got Kai at this point.
Yeah.
Thing is, at this point, Nagasenna's brought in again. They're like, right, Mr. Nagasenna and his buddy Kartono, who's like a blank,
Yeah.
are brought in, and they meet up with Golovko and with the custodian, and they're like, right, well, this is very worrying. We know Kai knows something really important that could threaten the Emperor, and all these traitors have just got him now.
Yeah.
And what if they take him to Horus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about wrong place, wrong time.
And we meet Custodian Saturnalia, and we listen to all this. We listen to the conversation where they're talking about what they're going to do, because it turns out Kai's eyes have listening devices in them that House Castagna of the Navigators can use to just listen to all the conversations.
Yeah.
So what happens when that is
Find my
realised
friends.
is that some more eye gouging happens.
Oh my lord.
Yeah. So the eyes get disconnected, but yes, which is very painful. Meanwhile, Gota and Babu Jakal are in their lab, and they find out about the Astartes in the Petitioner's city, and they're all fucked up from like weird tumors and things, and no one knows why, but they have ancient bolt weapons and lightning tattoos, and they want some gene seed. Who could they be? What's going on?
Thunder Warriors.
The eyes of a warrior who had fought from one side of the world to the other and slaughtered any man who stood in his way. Armies had quailed before the man's gaze, cities had opened their gates to him, and great heroes had been humbled before his might.
Ooh.
That's Babu Jakal.
I was so excited when I realised. I was like, oh my gosh, because the last time I read about these was Valdor.
Well, I mean, the thing that gives it away is the Thunder Warrior on the cover.
Oh!
Yeah, so you go in expecting Thunder Warriors, but yeah, that's how it goes. So they take Kai. Kai's obviously been quite hurt by all this, and also Githyu was hurt because he was hurt in the escape.
Yes.
So they take them to a doctor. They find a doctor. They find this grumpy doc who does Dr. McCoy stuff. He's very Dr. McCoy. When they turn up, he's like, who in the name of the Emperor's balls are you?
I love that curse. I'm going to use that.
And he tries to save them. Githyu dies from his injuries. Kai also gets given a general purging liquid, which means he does a lot of pooing again.
Yeah.
And lots of vomiting.
I mean, Kai really suffers the whole way through. He gets tortured, like he's struggling, mentally, physically. It's horrible.
He's hallucinating the whole time because not only is he having weird psychic backlash, but also his eyes have been pulled out. Yeah. So he can see things. His brain's trying to make sense of it.
Desert safe place, but the snakes are still there.
There's one thing that they call themselves the Outcast Dead. I think Atharva says, when this was a world of gods, men believed if they prayed hard enough, they'd go to a wonderful afterlife. But those people who the prophets deemed outcasts were not afforded such bounty. Quicklime and a shallow pit, forgotten and discarded. They were the Outcast Dead, and so are we. There we are.
Very melancholy.
Gota turns up with 30 screwed up but not as big guys.
Yeah.
And they're shit, but Gota turns out to be more powerful even than an Astartes, it turns out.
Yes.
And he kills Chiron. Githyu saves the rest of them at the last minute.
Yeah.
The gang, so again, Gota runs away. The gang don't know what to do with the bodies, so they're told, I want you to go to the Temple of Woe to get rid of the bodies.
Well, they want to take them to the Temple of Woe because they don't want any of the genes to be available.
Yeah,
they even mention that. We have to burn the gene seeds. I'm surprised they didn't take them for themselves, but I suppose they didn't have a Widdly man.
Apothecary.
With them. Widdly man.
They go to the Temple of Woe, and Kai has a few more hallucinations about playing chess with the Emperor and all that. Gota returns to the lab, and we find out at this point they're obviously two Thunder Warriors, which we knew already. Still trying to keep themselves alive years later. Nagasenna then turns up, and they catch up and they question and kill Antioch the Doctor.
Yeah.
Nagasenna is starting to be quite conflicted because he thinks of himself as someone who fights for truth, and he's like, well, now I'm trying to stop truth getting out. So do I? And it's interesting. We can talk about Nagasenna later, but he's like, I'm a bit conflicted about what I'm being asked to do.
From Nagasenna's perspective, these enemies of the state have disappeared, taking a little feeble, psyker with them that has important wartime information.
Yeah.
So he, of course, in his own way, is like, I have to do this.
But he's not happy about it.
No.
Meanwhile, Evander Grigoris, putting together all this stuff in the Bleed, has a vision of Warhammer 40k. He sees an age of war in a lightless millennium, the great devourer and an apostasy. Grigoris screamed as he saw a dark world of teeming insects clad in black and grey, toiling endlessly in a darkened hive and subterranean nests of squalor and misery. He's not very happy about this. Also, he magically has eyes after this. Something happens. He's got eyes.
Yes. So So after the whole Magnus thing, and then something gives him his eyes back, and then everyone's very suspicious of him as well.
Yeah. And then when Nemo comes to see him, he says that it's too late. Nothing can stop this. Everything's fucked, and he shoots himself. And Nemo starts to read the last Onera Critica of Evander Grigoris to find out what this
dream journal
this is.
I mean, that's 40k in a nutshell, isn't it?
We never see, I don't think we ever hear from Nemo again. Athava and Kai notice when they get to the temple, there's a weird thing in the temple because they're the two psychers, and they're like, yeah, let's just keep quiet about that. There's a weird thing in this temple. It must be attracted by all the death. Kai thinks about the Emperor and helping him out. The last realization was hardest to admit, for Kai had always believed he was master of his own destiny. Here, alone and hunted in a temple dedicated to the dead, he realized how naive he'd been. The worth of the individual was the greatest lie the Imperium had made its people swallow. From soldiers in the army to scribes of the palace, to the workers toiling in the factories, every human life was in service to the Emperor. Whether they realized it or not, the human race had been yoked to the singular goal of galaxy conquest. And there's a lot of everyone realizing how fucked they are in this.
Well, the book before this was The Age of Darkness.
Yeah.
So The Age of Darkness is things are going to get very sad.
Very sad, yeah.
And then things are really sad. It's awful.
He does, though. He meets Roxanne, and it turns out that Roxanne is the navigator
from the
ship. And she reassures him. She's like, they tried to blame us both for the loss of the Argo. What does that tell you about how little they know? Tagore and the little kid Arik have a bonding moment about Gota being a dick, because Gota killed Arik's dad. And then Arik pulls out that the Leticio did a bit of Tartus, and Tagore has to go somewhere else in case he rips his head off. Babu Dekal comes to chat.
Babadook.
Babu Dekal.
Babadook.
Okay. He comes to chat. His brain is considered overwhelming to Avatha, which is a Thunder Warrior thing, that they were psychically protected.
Yes.
And he wants to make a deal. And we find out that he's Arik Taranis, the Lightning Bearer. Who's never been mentioned before, so it's new for this book. He wasn't in for you. But you're the Lightning Bearer, asked Tagore. A title given to me after the Battle of Mount Ararat in the Kingdom of Urartu, said Babu Dekal. I had the honour of raising the banner of lightning at the Declaration of Unity. Athava could barely believe his eyes. This warrior was history wrought into living form. The victor of Gordar, the last rider, the butcher of Scandia, the throne slayer. Gordar is Gaudaray is the conflict that the priest in the Lightning Church was in when he saw God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Graham McNeill, we like this. Intertextuality. Very nice.
So they're having a chat, and Babu's like, I want to chat about maybe getting some gene seed, please, to keep me alive. I've been trying to keep, because the thing about the Thunder Warriors is they were
one-use items,
they didn't last
they?
very long. They were pumped up so much that with chemicals that they would die of tumours. So they're weirdly still alive. And he wants gene seed. Nagasenna, though, then attacks. So Nagasenna and his whole army attack. There's loads of fighting. Everyone dies. Kai mostly throws up through this. Athava uses all of his psychic power to wake the weird angel demon thing in the statue who kills most of the attackers.
Yeah.
Then Kai...
Athava actually gives up his psychic power, severs himself to allow that to happen.
And he does that also so he can fight Cartono, otherwise he'll be hurt by Cartono, who's a blank.
Yes.
Kai and Roxanne do their mind meld at this point, and he has a vision that the Argo was actually not their fault. It was because demons attacked.
Yeah, because their Keebler pod or whatever it's called.
Gellerfield.
Gellerfield didn't work.
But it wasn't his fault, and they were saved by a golden light. He's cured, and he has another vision of the Red Chamber, and then also everything of Anderseed, everything that's gonna happen. The Heresy, Horus, the deal with Chaos, Sanguinius being dead, the Emperor also sees it through him. He's like, oh, the Emperor's in my mind, and I finally unlock this, I can see it. And in this same vision, he ends up finishing his chess game, but he's not in a desert anymore. He's in a lush green tropical mine palace. And we get the big Emperor quote, which is, something needs to happen.
No, Ian! Oh, you're a dreadful human. I forgot your emperor voice. Go on, as you wish.
Some things need to happen, Kai. Even the most terrible things you can imagine sometimes need to happen. Why? His opponent moved his Divinitarch into a blocking position and said, because sometimes the only victory possible is to keep your opponent from winning. Kai scanned the board, seeing he had no more moves to make. Stalemate, he said. The figure spread his hands in an empty gesture of apology. I know some people think me omnipotent, but there's a catch with being all-powerful and all-knowing, which is, you can't be both at the same time. But you're going to die, says Kai. I know, says the Emperor. So the Emperor, evidently, the Emperor now knows what was in Kai's mind, which is the entire thing to come, like this vision, probably the same one Horus sees, of the vision of the war to come and it ending in 40k. And the Emperor's like, fine, okay, I've got to make the best I can out of this. The Emperor now knows, but Kai doesn't think he should let everyone else know.
No.
So Roxanne war-pies him to death.
Well, he says if everybody knows how it ends, the whole human race will give up.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes the only victory possible is to keep your opponent from winning, he says, and dies. And then in the aftermath, Dawn sends Nagasenna off to hunt Severian, which is going to pop up in short stories. And Babu, Dakal and Gota have got some progenoids and start making organs.
I don't know how they got the organs, do you?
I don't know, Atharvar's body or something, I don't know. They were in the church when all this shit was happening.
Oh, gosh.
And they weren't on either side.
And they weren't burnt. The others were burnt, but they weren't. Oh, Ian.
So there we go. That's what happens in The Outcast Dead. Did you enjoy? I mean, enjoy is a strong word.
I read it so fast. I mean, I do love Graham McNeill's writing. Everybody knows that. But I thought it was really enjoyable in a weird way. There was a lot of characterization. I love the way each of the different space marines. So, for example, the Emperor's children one had dyed blonde hair, but because he'd been in prison, his roots were showing. There were some really fantastic, brilliant details. Yeah. And each of them acted as you'd expect them to act according to their legion. I love seeing the Emperor, but I'm so confused and sad. And I was talking to our friend Historitus Gemaldus, and I said, but the Emperor knew all along. And he said, well, ask Ian, does the Emperor know? Or is the Emperor seeing something that has been, is it the true future or is it something?
Well, we're told repeatedly by people like the Emperor that visions of the future aren't reliable. That you might be able to see the destination, but you can't see how you're going to get there and anything can change them.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of that. And also the Emperor we also know, it's way later though that the Emperor you find out things like the Emperor and Malkador don't have one plan, they have hundreds. And they're constantly shutting off because they're not all powerful and all present.
No.
They just say that because it binds everyone together to get them to unify the galaxy as quickly as possible. So they've actually got a million backup plans, which all need constantly manipulating and trying to figure out which ones are viable.
No wonder he's good at regicide.
Exactly. It's the whole chess game. Yeah. And that actually what they're trying to do is they can see where they want to go, but they can't see how they get there. And they've got a million options. They're trying to play the odds in the hope that it gets there in time. So finding out this and going, right, this is what Chaos is showing as the potential future.
Yeah.
We don't actually know, but in this future I will die. There's that chance. Meh. So at this point we're we know what's going to happen. No one can change it now. But there is whether anyone can change it now is prophecy is not very reliable in 40k.
I'm stroking my hair so I can tell I'm trying to calm my sadness down. But I feel like I was so shocked by the way the Emperor was like, okay, I know.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, if the Emperor does know his eternal fate and still will continue this heresy, that blew my mind. And it just made me really sad. But what
do you do though? If you find that out, do you go right, I give up then? You're well, I've still got to do all the things.
I don't know. I've got, because I'm so anxious, if I were the Emperor, I would get off Terra and go and address Horus. I wouldn't wait for Horus to come to me.
But he can't now because Magnus has fucked up the Webway portal, so he has to stay on the throne.
I could get in a space shuttle, couldn't I?
No, Emperor can't leave.
What? Oh, because the Emperor's got to defend.
Yeah, because Magnus screwed up the portal.
Well, Magnus didn't mean to do.
Magnus did something wrong. And also, this is quite nice in that there's always a bit of did he or didn't he about whether Magnus, when he was doing nothing wrong, did the message actually get heard properly? And the implication is that it didn't. Like the Magnus tried to get the message through to the Emperor, but as soon as he realized what he'd done, it screwed up. And the Astropaths have heard it.
Yeah.
And now this is how the Emperor finds out what the prediction of the future is.
Oh, Ian, mind blown. I changed my plan. If I was the Emperor, I'd call back. I don't know.
There's no way around it.
I'm going to write an alternative happy ending.
There's a really common thing that you always hear on forums, and it's all people who've read like one book going, yeah, the Emperor's an idiot, I would have just done this. And you're like, they're pretty conclusively wrapped up why that won't work. Character.
Did you like it?
I liked it more than I did the first time round. And the first time round, I was like, that's a bit confusing. I don't know what's going on. I like the fact that they're Thunder Warriors. I don't think you need the Crusader host. I don't think that really adds much. It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
There's one of each Legion on Terra. And very later on in the series, you will see another member of it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, fine, I guess. I like the idea of the Petitioner City. The Petitioner City seems like a really good bit of actual, like, what's it actually like to live in the palace?
So cool.
The Crusader host is like, okay, I could, if they didn't exist, I wouldn't care. It's fine.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought it was lovely that we got a taste of some legions, and because we're looking for that now. Because we get a lot of books that are one legion focus, so this is nice. You get a taste of different brothers going in.
So we get a few interesting characters. We've got sexy. We talked about sexy Grandad Nemo.
Yeah. Sex in the Heresy.
Sex in the Heresy.
Then no one died at the end of.
Tantric, Fretzes, naked in their Astropath chamber.
Sounds consensual. Sounds like it was helping them work through something.
Yeah.
Positive
sexy therapy.
In the Heresy.
Yeah. We have Kai, the sarcastic, sad Astropath, who's probably one of the best characters just for the dialogue. The only people who's like, I just don't give a shit.
Yeah. So sarcastic. I loved Kai, but I felt like from the moment they began torturing him, I just knew we were going to have to fall in love. And then I was so glad he could die with a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. And Roxana's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm very rich and I'm from House Castagna. They won't kill me. Nagasenna's interesting. Nagasenna reminded me, and obviously the book came out afterwards, but it reminded me of Kandawaya from the Valdor book. There's this whole thing in this book, which is like, it's a description of how everyone realizes that the glorious idea of the Empire is a bit of a lie, or at least it's a lie constructed so that they do it. And the Emperor might be more of a tyrant. You know, the Emperor's obviously put together this idea in the Crusade. And we've got it a few times before that, like, this is a glorious thing. He's uniting humanity. Yes, people will die, but we need to do it. Otherwise, the aliens will win. And there is evidence that that's true to a big degree.
Yeah. And if you're on a planet, you are in receipt of the wealth of the plundering.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it's
Sometimes.
But we see bits where really early on Carcassy finds out that he's like, I'm not sure this is good. But the really obvious one is Kandawaya, when she tries to make the Emperor and Valdor follow laws in Valdor. Yeah. And they're like, the laws aren't for us. The laws are so that we look like a good country, but actually we don't follow those. We do whatever we want, whatever is needed to do. And there's a sort of same thing here. Nagasenna, you don't really know what his job is. He's like a well-regarded hunter.
Yeah.
And he is evidently in two minds about what this is. He believes in the Imperium and works for them, but also he's like, well, do I still believe this? When the custodians are like, just kill him, we don't care.
Custodians, wow.
Brutal.
Yeah, interesting. I'm kind of rethinking people who choose to play custodians.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got one of those armies.
So is Henry Cavill.
Hey. Their opinion is that might threaten the Emperor, so as many people need to die as need to die, that means that doesn't get threatened.
Oh.
Yep. So that's them. Also, loads of eyes in this.
Yeah.
There was loads of eyes in Thousand Suns and in Space Wolf books.
I think there's definitely, I'm imagining when they were plotting this out, there would be themes. I mean, we talked about, there were loads of them in, what was it, Prospero Burns and Thousand Suns. So now, I mean, but what I find tricky is, and I think it's quite a good little thing for them to write in, you sometimes think, oh, this is this colour eye, it must be Magnus. Leading to, actually, it's a Horus eye. The golden eye, I tend to try and rely on is the Emperor. But yet, when we first meet Magnus and he's doing his excavation by the massive elf
tunnel
titans, he's got golden eyes. So none of this eye stuff is reliable. But isn't there something about amethyst eyes as well, having meaning?
Yeah, Kai at the end has purple eyes. When he dies, he gets his eyes, they're purple. And
because all our favourites have purple eyes.
well,
Eisenhorn?
Yeah, people who are very warp touched have purple eyes because Cadians have purple eyes.
Oh,
Yeah.
warp touch.
So if you're very close, if you grew up like born close to the warp, you might have purple eyes. Is a thing.
In the 90s, I had purple contact lenses.
Oh, is that because you were warp touched?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know.
Oh dear. Right. There's no New Legion in this. We've met all the legions.
I know.
Yeah. So we do meet though some Thunder Warriors.
I was excited.
Yeah.
I mean, they're horrible, but I mean, there's only 2 of them.
There's only 2 of them. They're still horrible.
And, this is another byproduct of the Emperor. He made these creations. He threw them away.
Yeah.
Presumably, if they're in Petitioner City, they could go and say, Dad, we're still here.
I think they'd get killed.
Would they be killed?
Yeah, no, the Emperor...
Because of everyone...
He killed all the Thunder Warriors.
Yeah, but they could be too, like, hey... like when the Klingons wake up after they find out that war's happened. No, there's peace now.
Yeah. No, because even in Valdor they get, which Valdor happens before this, because it's and in Valdor there's some spare Thunder Warriors still hanging around who get killed. I think they're like, screw this. We did all the fighting.
I didn't know that. What gives it away from the cover?
It's this particular like glare shield helmet thing.
Is that Thunder Warriors on the minis?
Yeah.
And you can play those?
No, you can't play them in anything. No.
Interesting.
Sometimes people convert them up, but yeah, you can't play Thunder Warriors. They died before any of the 40k games are set. So they're even before Heresy's set. So yeah, there's it's based on, there was this really old version in the early 90s. They released a set of Space Marines in like old armor.
Okay.
Like there was just one set, and it was like, oh, here's your, because the normal armor for Space Marines was Mark 6. So they were like, oh, here's what Mark 5 looked like. Here's what Mark 4 looked like. They went all the way back to Mark 1, which was called Thunder Armor, and had that shield. And the description was, the first Space Marines wore this armor that was just the same thing Thunder Warriors wore before it got better. And it didn't work. It was for fighting on Earth, because obviously you wouldn't have that helmet in space.
Got it.
And then since then, that's what Thunder Warriors have looked like. Yeah. And then when the Heresy game came out, they started mining backwards, but they never get as far back as that.
Well, I think it's very sad that there are only 2 Thunder Warriors, but the door is left open. They've got their genes now.
Yeah, they do. So they could Thunder Warriors some more. Big thing that this established, actually, because we've never seen them. This was the first book that established that Thunder Warriors are scarier than Astartes. Before this, Thunder Warriors were like, oh, Astartes are better.
Yeah.
But actually, the argument is Thunder Warriors are vastly stronger than Astartes. It's just that Astartes are much more reliable and last a lot longer.
There you go.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
And maybe not as crazy.
Yeah.
Bastard scale. Oh, let's do questions. Right. So we've got a few questions here.
Yeah.
3 questions here. Right. So Rob Sothoth says, been a while since I've read it, but what do you make of Kai's secret and that the Emperor seems to have been told of how the heresy would end mere weeks after the Dropsite massacre? Clearly the Emperor is not all-knowing and all-powerful after all. Thoughts?
I was really shocked that they placed this in such, you get Magnus, you get Istvan, everything happens in this book. And I was shocked because, I guess I've always thought the whole way along the Emperor has a plan, and it was him being befuddled by Horus's actions and Magnus. But yeah, I've always gone with the thought that the Emperor is magic god. Yeah. And now, that's slowly being pulled away.
Yeah. I think the big thing in this is that they're clear that the Emperor is not all-knowing and all-powerful.
No.
When he's saying omniscient and all that, he's making a joke.
Yeah.
Like, he's not omniscient. He's a guy who's very powerful psyker, but he isn't all-powerful. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He's just a guy. Yeah. The whole guise of he's your superhuman leader is like part true, but also ramped up so that everyone just falls in line and follows him.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. I just keep thinking, there's no point to me thinking this. I'm doing a book club with Ian. I'm like, how could we change it?
You can't change it. Right.
Unless you say,
Horus,
you can have this half of the galaxy. Just keep Nurgle and everyone away from us.
You and Nurgle can go and play over there.
Nurgle, yeah.
You and Nurgle go and play over there.
You and Nurgle, yeah. You've got the Isle of Man jersey.
We're giving Horus and Nurgle the Isle of Man, and they should be happy with that. Yeah. Thomas says, I really like the premise of there being surviving Thunder Warriors. Is this brought up again in the Heresy?
Is it?
No. The spoilers, obviously, there has not yet been a conclusion of that plotline. There is, in one of the Heresy game books, there is a story of World Eaters finding a sort of space station colony of escaped Thunder Warriors, and like every Thunder Warrior is surrounded by a pile of dead World Eaters by the end of the mission.
But they can't.
But yeah, there's no, not really.
And they can't make more. It's not like Gaunt's Ghost. They're like replicants.
I mean, they wouldn't want to. Yeah, the only people who can make them is the Emperor's scientists from 30k.
Well,
or 29k. Yeah. So yeah, John says, having read The Outcast Dead, would you like to see the surviving Thunder Warriors get a last hurrah in a book of their own? I reckon a short about them contributing to a defence in the Petitioner's city during the siege would be a great way to sign them off.
That's a lot, yeah.
I would like to see a little short of what happens once the siege starts, or maybe Gota and Babu Dukal get off planet, or like a nice little connected thing where they go and are that space station or something. But yeah, it's like I like the idea that there are odd Thunder Warriors. There is a few Heresy characters who are meant to be so big that people say they're an old Thunder Warrior, but the idea is that's a rumour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And people have made some nice conversions where they've gone, right, I've got my gang of Thunder Warriors are still fighting. It's a nice idea. I would like a little story where something.
I'm going to say I don't know if I could bear it, because any story about Thunder Warriors will be, we are very lonely, we are the last in existence.
And we're horrible.
And we've got lots of tumours on us. Or we're going to die because, that I haven't read The Siege of Terror, but I'm going to guess it's not a happy ending.
There's not much left. Yeah. So I don't know where they hide out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So the problem with this is everyone in this book has a valid reason for being a bastard, right? Tagore, the World Eaters, Asuba and Suba, they're trying to get back to the World Eaters, but they've got reasons. Athava isn't the bastard. Nagasenna isn't the bastard, I think. So who's the bastard? It's the Custodies are bastards.
The Custodies are, but they're also just doing their job.
They're just trying to do their job.
And I'm a big Emperor stan, so I think let's just look aside from these before we go through your suggestions.
Himiko and Shah for the other one.
The
drill scientists.
Yes, that's who I'm going to say, because they seem to take way too much pleasure.
Yeah, they do.
It was very masochistic of them, the way they treated Kai. But I agree, and I think again, it's all the different flavours that Graham McNeill brings in. None of them are truly bastards. I would say that the Thunder Warriors, they have been terrorising Petitioner City. So they are like the local warlords, aren't they? Yeah. So they're not great. Okay. They're going on the scale.
Okay, all right. So Thunder Warriors are on the scale.
Yeah.
Custodies aren't? The Weeping Angel, is that on it's the Vacant Angel on the scale.
The Vacant Angel's on the scale.
But the Vacant Angel helps.
Doesn't the Vacant Angel go a bit...
Yeah, it sort of kills everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of kills everybody, okay. But Demon's going to demon.
Demon's going to demon.
Demon's going to demon.
Okay.
Right, so we've got Babu Dukal and Gota.
I'm going to give them...
yeah, okay, go for it.
Bearing in mind they are a lost species trying to make their way, but also terrorising little people, I'm going to give them a 3.5 on the bastard scale.
Babu Dukal and Gota, 3.5. Okay, and then Hiriko and Shaft, brain surgeons.
Well, they showed humanity when one of them was sad about losing the other. I'm going to give them 7.
7.
On the bastard scale.
Not high on the bastard scale.
Well, no one's done anything.
They're all just
I'm so used to it now.
Products of their environment. Yeah. Yeah. So there we are. That's The Outcast Dead. We've done The Outcast Dead. We are further along. What's the next book in this series? I'm pretty sure it gets worse. We are going to do next. Well, this doesn't go as far as that. This is so I think it's Deliverance Lost.
It is. Yeah. That is a Gav Thorpe, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a Gav Thorpe. It's Gav
Raven
Thorpe.
Guard.
Yeah.
I'm excited to read
a
about.
New Legion.
Yes. And we've done it. If you haven't watched already our Age of Darkness video, there's a bit of Raven Guard going on in there too. Yeah. Why are you worried about Deliverance Lost? I'm
not a fan of the Raven Guard.
Is it because they are vampires?
They're not vampires, they're emos.
They're emos.
Yeah, the Raven Guard
we were going to dress up.
Yeah, they're emos. That's what the Raven Guard is. Are we dressing up for that?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right.
I'll have to find you like a neck collar or something.
yeah. Cool. All right. Brilliant. Well, there we go. Thank you for listening and or watching. This was The Outcast Dead. You can find all our stuff below if you want to buy this T-shirt that Mira is modelling right here. I've got one too, but I'm not wearing it. Maybe I'll wear my one in a different video.
Yeah.
And there's also other T-shirts, and we've both got merch, and there's other stuff to do. So, yeah, thanks, everybody.
See you next time. Bye. Bye.